I'm ready. What is my, how to phrase it, autumn to winter reading list? So, The Giver by Lois Lowry. I was born in 1992. This book came out in 1993, and it was huge book in my childhood. Like, everybody read it. I did not. And so I saw the movie, and the movie was alright. So I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. I've started it partway through. Yeah. So, yeah, there's one. Summer of the Monkeys, I've read this before. It's a very unique book. It is the only book in my life where I read the book, and the story was so different from anything I have read that it actually spurred me to ask the question, where is the author from? And so it's Summer of the Monkeys. It's by Wilson Rawls, and I think if I'm recalling correctly, the first version of this book came out in like 1976. So it's an older book for somebody who's born in 1992, but I think he's from Oklahoma or somewhere in like, yeah, it says on the back, it says, or no, it's about the story. The person's from Oklahoma in the story. It was just like a whole thing where it was just kind of, it was the first book I read, so I'm a writer and working on my writing abilities, and writing a book one day or multiple books is a dream of mine. And so this holds perhaps the uniquest spot in all of the books I've read in my entire life of piquing my interest. It's a fiction book about piquing my interest about the author and where the author is from. No other book in my entire life has met that standard. The next book, I own this book. So all of these books, these 4 books that I'm going through, I checked out from the library. This next one I actually own, and it's in storage, and it's not easily findable in storage. So I bought this. I think it was first edition that I bought it. It's new. It's relatively new. It came out in 2019. It's Inseparable: How Family and Sacrifice Forged a Path to the NFL. It's by Shaquem and Shaquill Griffin, with Mark Schlabach, who's a sports journalist. And so I live in Seattle. This is my home. It's been my home since 1992. Moved away for like 8 years and came back. So I've lived here for over 20 years of my life, and I'm a little over 29 years old. So a large percentage of my life I've lived here, and currently live here in Seattle proper. And they're Seattle Seahawks. So they have a special meaning for me. I'm in the middle of something, Ma. Yeah. I'm not cutting that out. I'm not editing it out. I don't really edit my videos though, so yeah. So it's fun. I've actually read, I think about a third of this book, and then I didn't finish it, and it's in storage now. So I got it from the library. What I read was good. Part of the reason I bought the book was I had a subscription to the Seattle Times, read the Seattle Times, and they included quotes from the NFL players, these two, and they were well spoken, and so that's actually part of why I bought the book. Was I was like, it's hard to get a sports biography or sports autobiography from people who are well spoken. I did a project when I was studying abroad in college at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, not museum, in South Africa, and I read a book by a runner. He ended up competing at the Olympic Games and stuff, but at that point he was a marathon runner, and he survived the genocide in Burundi, and yeah, it was between the Hutus and the Tutsis. So it might be more familiar to some people as like the Rwanda genocide. It didn't just happen in Rwanda. It hit neighboring countries such as Burundi as well. So that's the last sports biography. I've tried reading other sports biographies, but for the most part, they're not well spoken, the writers, and I was impressed with their speaking abilities. And from what I read, there's well spoken, well writ kind of thing. So I'm going back to finish Inseparable, and currently it does not have a Wikipedia page, and I'm in a Wikipedia writing frenzy. So if I finish this in the Wikipedia page, if someone doesn't beat me to it, it's competitive making new pages on Wikipedia, especially for like NFL players and like competitive swimmers and stuff like that. If there's not a Wikipedia page yet and I get around to it, maybe I'll write one for this. And then the last one, so I've met her. Her name is Alicia Ajello Cook, at least when I met her. So I'm assuming it's the same person, but Alicia Keys. And it was before I met Alicia Ajello Cook before she was Alicia Keys. Yeah. Before her first album even came out. We were at Disneyland and she was with someone named Beyonce Knowles. My sister knew who Beyonce Knowles was. She wasn't saying anything. She just let me step in it because I had no idea who either of these people were. And so this is More Myself a Journey by Alicia Keys. This is the 4th book. She didn't look like this back then. She wore braids in her hair, even at Disneyland. And they were there together. And we were getting autograph books. And so I asked for their autographs, specifically Alicia Keys, but I didn't know her name, so it was just like, yeah, so I asked for her autograph, and I got it, and then she signed first, and then Beyonce signed second. I got rid of the autograph book. I don't have it anymore. It was just kind of like, and that was after the fact, but like, which I'm actually glad. I started reading this today, and she mentions in here how she felt she no longer belonged to herself. This is on page 10. How she no longer felt like she belonged to herself, and she'd become captive to every request and demand, including signing autographs. And so I was actually her very first autograph, according to her at the time. I'm gonna guess that kind of a detail is not included in here, and if it is, it might be changed to kind of very much a focused on getting things to sell kind of perspective. So based on my interactions with Alicia Ajello Cook, so that might not even be the same person, I'm aware that Alicia Keys' real name is Alicia Ajello Cook, at least back when I met someone with the same name and who looked the same, down to hairstyles. At the time, I guess, yeah, at the time, her album came out like a year or two later after I met her, first album. So, yeah, so it's just interesting. I don't have the autograph, and I don't have Beyonce Knowles' autograph either. I got rid of them. I tossed it, or burned it. I think I just threw it in the trash. So I'm getting around to reading the book. I do like some of her music. This, like, yeah. So, I mean, I chose this book for a reason. If I didn't want to read it, I wouldn't have checked it out in the first place. So I'm reading it. It's yeah. So there's my 4 books. This is about twin brothers. So these are 2, like, autobiographies with the assistance of writing from others. This is a 2000, I think it was supposed to come out in 2020 and ended up coming out in like 2021, or came out at the end of 2020 or something like that. Let's see, copyright is 2020. So we're going to go with 2020, 2019, 1976, before I was born. The year after I was born, 1993. So, and these 2 are, so Summer of the Monkeys, which I loved. I was like, I mean, this is like highest recommendation from a writer's perspective so I've read at least part of all 4 of these books. And so, based on what I've read, from a writer, not a reader perspective, this was one of a kind of all the books I've read in my entire life. And a reader, just like life perspective is so vastly different that loved it. Yeah. And then the others. So onwards and outwards. Let's see. I don't know how to end this. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna get back to reading. Oh, I remember. Why am I making this in the first place? So this is my reading list, but my New Year's resolution was reading more, and I've been doing that through writing and reading sources for my writing and editing my writing. So that's a bunch more reading. So I've actually achieved my New Year's resolution, but this is kind of my culmination, is by 2021. Have read these 4 books, and it's a cherry on top to a New Year's resolution for the year 2021 that's already been fulfilled. Just kind of taking and enjoying my reading prowess I've developed over the past, what months? Past 10 to 11 months. And reading some books. Yeah, that's all, folks.